Hi guys, and welcome back to another Career Spotlight. Today we actually have a game developer joining us, so I am super excited for everyone to know all about Klub Kofta. They have an amazing game coming out in the summer, so without further ado, let's just jump into it.
Where else would you rather be? Tell me who else but me?
We are really lucky today to be joined by the amazing owner of Klub Kofta, and without further ado, I will let you introduce yourself. So, can you tell me about yourself?
Hi, I'm the owner of Klub Kofta Studio in Ontario, Canada. I am a solo game dev, meaning that I make entire games mostly on my own. I graduated with my degree in game design back in 2024. I am currently making my debut title, which is a underwater tower defense game called Operation Octo, which I have been working on for the past 5 years.
So throughout this whole video, we're going to be showing clips of Operation Octo, as you already know. I kind of want to know, first of all, let's dig deeper into you as a person and how you got into game developing. So I guess the main first question I should ask really is what inspired you to pursue this career?
Now, most high schoolers have to fight their parents to get into a college game design program. For me, it was the opposite. Being a game dev was not a job I saw myself doing at all. I had never programmed with real codes up until college. I loved animating cartoon characters, but I wanted to keep it strictly as a hobby, because it'd be way too tedious as a job. So I was about to pick some really generic major for college, but my parents forced me to go to this art college and study game design. I was super upset over it too, but they turned out to have been correct. I aced college and loved it. Game design is totally my thing.
Honestly, this sounds like the best way to fall into this career. Obviously, you've been surrounded by love and support to sort of force you into something that you clearly are really talented at. So what was kind of one of the first games that you ever got involved with, and what did you learn from it?
I made a few games for computer class in middle and high school, on Scratch, which is a kid's coding site. You don't write actual codes for it, of course, but I put insane amounts of efforts into those school assignments. I got really ambitious during my final projects. I made a whole Undertale fan game with 12 different endings. Everybody thought game development would be the ideal career path for me, except for myself. I spent so many sleepless nights on that game that my brain was fried by the end, and I never wanted to touch another piece of code for the rest of my life.
Oh no, that sounds like a terrible way to be exploring game development and everything, but it sounds like you've definitely had a big shift in your attitude towards the whole thing. So is there any particular games or developers that have influenced your approach to creating games, kind of changed up and how you feel about the whole thing?
If there was anything that persuaded me to agree to studying game design, it was Return of the Obra Dinn. I played Return of the Obra Dinn during my last year of high school, and that game made me see video games as art for the first time. Lucas Pope is such a brilliant designer, whom I utterly admire. The biggest influence on my design approach has to be George Fan though. He's the designer of Plants vs. Zombies. Whenever people play my new game, they're always reminded of Plants vs. Zombies. That's because I was a huge PvZ fan as a kid. PvZ's influence on me and my style is monumental. Besides, I idolize George Fan's design philosophies. He gave a brilliant GDC talk on designing tutorials and making games accessible. I've rewatched that talk so many times and always try to keep the lessons from it at heart. Finally, whenever I hit a morale low during my game development, I draw inspiration from Bill Watterson, who is the creator of Calvin and Hobbes. Bill Watterson is a true artist who puts artistic integrity above everything else. He is all about creating beautiful things and never fixating on money. He never even allowed merchandising of his comics because it would cheapen his work. I think that's what game development should be about. And if I ever became successful enough, I'd want to help other developers to be able to create games just because they love games, without any other concerns like funding, deadlines, marketing, publishers' interference, profits that would jeopardize the purest form of art.
So you just mentioned him there. I'd never heard of Bill Watterson, and honestly, that sounds like a phenomenal philosophy to hold close to heart. I love the idea that you want to help developers to create things just because they love the game, because it makes so much difference when you're actually playing a game and you can tell that it's been made with love. You obviously mentioned some other influencers and art and everything like that. And I know, speaking to you previously, that art has always been your first and foremost kind of thing. So how did that really evolve over in time? And Did you do a lot of art before you kind of went into the game thing?
Drawing has always been my main hobby since childhood. The thing is, I only drew for fun. I've never taken a single proper drawing lesson in my life. I draw naturally, or as the others may call it, amateurishly. I really don't know my way around art at all. I'm entirely self-taught. I have no understanding of things like perspective or even sketching. As a result, I've only ever had the same Pokemon-ish art style. People keep saying my characters are cute. I never make things cute on purpose. I just can't draw any other way. From the point that I started playing Club Penguin, most of my childhood drawings started turning into game prototypes. I didn't draw animals or trees like other kids did. I always drew original imaginary creatures and envisioned them inside of games of my own.
Definitely have to admit that I'm definitely in team cute with your characters. There is some incredibly adorable ones. I do obviously particularly love the little Dumbo octopus and all this kind of stuff. It is so cute and they're well thought out, and honestly, they're just a charm to watch. So like, what inspired you to turn your adorable little creatures into an underwater world?
So by the second year of college, I wanted to start a serious personal game project. I prototyped a few game ideas that did not work out too well. All the while, there was this nagging feeling in my head that I wanted to make a black and white octopus character for my game. I just wanted this character in whichever game I made. Now, of course, that's not how you're supposed to start a game idea off of, but eventually I decided I had to just make something, and just settled for this underwater tower defense game. Given my love for Plants vs. Zombies, this is the most natural way things could have unfolded.
So obviously you've had a lot of love for Plants vs. Zombies and that kind of tower defense games. What kind of makes you feel like your game stands out in the tower defense game world?
Operation Octo is quite unlike traditional tower defense games because this is a genre hybrid between bullet hell and tower defense. In normal tower defenses, you are preventing enemies from reaching a static home base. Here, you've got a movable character that is the ultimate destination enemies want to get to. So as a gamer, I really suck at action games. I wished I could play all those fancy dungeon crawlers and dodge millions of bullets. Something that made those games difficult for me was the fact that you have to be attacking enemies while trying to stay alive. If only I could just focus on dodging and not worry about other stuffs. Hence, I made a bullet hell where your only way of fighting back at enemies is by placing turrets. You focus on strategizing and running around, and let the turrets do all the fighting for you. This made my game way easier for a casual audience to pick up and enjoy.
I completely agree that this game and the way you have built it has made it really enjoyable to play. It's been definitely a different strategy you kind of need to learn in the tower defense, and it's really, really exciting to play. And what has been actually your most exciting part of developing this project so far?
It's always the coding of new mechanics that I love doing the most. My game has a ton of contents. I constantly introduce new turrets and enemy types, and the amount of artwork piles up really quickly, so I particularly cherish the comparatively rare opportunities where I just get to code. Because of how long it takes to make each new character, I try to ensure that every new mechanic I introduce is exciting to play with and game-changing. Each new turret lets you play the game in a different way, and each new enemy toys with your feelings. Earlier when I was watching another streamer and her stream, she took a last round of look at all the enemies and she just went, "This rocket guy, I hate him. The tennis ball guy, no. This mortar guy is the worst." I was so proud of the fact that every single new enemy left that strong of an impression on her, and she really had a blast figuring out how to deal with each of them.
I absolutely love that for you. There has definitely been some characters in this game that I have wanted to punch in the face because they're making life so much more tricky, but that sort of like connection completely and utterly comes through, and honestly the whole thing is really well connected, and you can totally see that you've spent time to think of how things sort of gel together. So as we've been talking through this, we've all been discovering that you are the solo developer of this phenomenal little cute game. So has there been any outside help or anything? What has sort of been like your main role in this? Have you managed to do it all by yourself, or how has it been working?
Since I am a solo developer, I designed the whole game, made and ran all the playtests on all the levels, coded everything, drew and animated all the characters, and now I am here promoting the game as well. The game's soundtrack was initially done by a talented friend of mine, Tiago, but he's busy working on Far Cry 6 right now, so the second composer, Daniel, had to come in, and he is amazing. I cannot get his soundtracks out of my head. I need extra help with non-character arts, so there has been 2 commissioned artists as well.
So you're clearly a very, very busy guy. The soundtrack is really, really good. So you've obviously managed to figure out fantastic composers to help you along with this game. Has there been any other unique mechanics or features in the game that you're particularly proud of, like the soundtrack?
The boss fight of the second world in my game. I was so proud of that one. The fights got surprises and unique mechanics that tie in really well with the world's gimmicks. To give the boss more personality, I voiced him as well. I had to go like while nobody else was around in the house, of course. I was playtesting with a friend whom I consider to be an exceptional designer, and after he finished playing that boss fight, he just went, "That was so good!" And it was the most satisfying moment for me ever.
I love that you used your own voice through the game. It's really showed how much passion and love you have for your own project. And that boss fight is so good. But just like a boss fight, what's been the biggest challenge to actually bring this project to life? And how are you managing to tackle it? Because obviously you're a very busy guy.
The vast majority of the development has been spent on art. By the game's initial release, there will be 23 enemy types and 25 turrets, plus 3 upgraded forms for each turret. And each one of those characters has hundreds, if not thousands of sprites, so animating them is insanely time consuming. I've been using all sorts of techniques to squeeze every ounce of productivity out of myself. I normally limit myself to going online for just 10 minutes a day. I never listen to music, I hardly even play games anymore, just trying to really not stimulate myself. I try to bore the life out of myself, so that I would find it a bit more gratifying when I go back to the drawing tablet. I've almost lived through this now. I also did commission 2 artists to handle other kinds of artworks, but I'm fresh out of college and poor, so if I ever got rich enough to actually hire an artist, I'm sure my productivity would skyrocket. I just love coding so much.
That is a lot of work you have put on your own shoulders. That is a lot of guys and to animate and everything, and you're clearly doing phenomenal, if not boring yourself to get it done. So the game is coming out in summer this year. Are you excited for its release? Or are you more stressed knowing you still have stuff to do and so much more things to animate?
I am pretty stressed. Even though there's still half a year to go, there always seems to be more stuff to be done than the time allows for. A few days ago, a Windows update just suddenly out of nowhere completely wrecked my computer, and I went so hysterical over not being able to work that I spent an hour just cuddling my Freddy Fazbear plushie while listening to Ahwak. That was very uncharacteristic of me, of course. I'm usually pretty composed. So after that incident, I realized I've got to take things easy, so I delayed the release date a bit.
I'm both sad and kind of glad that you've realized how much pressure you've been putting yourself under, but are thankfully taking now steps to safeguard your own mental health in such a stressful point in your life. So the game obviously coming out in the summer of this year, in July. I'll put dates down in the comments section below when the actual date comes out, and obviously we will have all the wish list links and everything down below, so everybody that's listening, please do go check out this game. So with Operation Octo looming near its end, have you looked forward to the future at all? What are you going to be doing in game development? Are you going to be doing more games, or what's your big plans?
I have so many exciting game ideas I'd love to turn into reality, but I've got a more noble goal. You'll notice I named my studio Klub Kofta. If I managed to expand my company, I'd really want it to be more of a club than a studio. I know how hard it is for me to make games and how many things get in the way of making games. I'd really love to create this club where like-minded people who love making games can come together and simply work on this wonderful form of art out of their intrinsic desire to create. I want to give others the means and the creative freedom to turn their ideas into reality. I remind myself of this every morning.
That is such a lovely way to look at it, about turning it into a club rather than a studio, making it more full of love. The world of gaming definitely needs more love and creative mindsets in it, and I think that's such an important and inspirational way of approaching what you're doing. And I hope all the best for the future, especially moving forward with future games. And I suppose thinking about future games, is there any other like genres you want to kind of work on? Is it more tower defense? Is there other ones you want to like spread yourself forward to doing?
I will be making some games that play around with time. One of them will be a roguelite, and the other will be a horror game. My current stream game is a very innovative Pokemon clone. I am a huge lover of strategy games and puzzle games, which I want to dabble in. Finally, I'm extremely good at RTS games, though I don't see myself being able to make one in the foreseeable future.
So clearly huge, amazing dreams for the future, which is fantastic to see. What advice would you give to aspiring game developers looking to join a team like your cozy club?
I'd say that getting a job in the game industry is hard. Depending on the circumstance, you might have to pave your own path. Very few people manage to make money out of games. Game development is a journey that's full of disappointments, and you've really got to persevere through it. It's a love for the craft that creates truly excellent games. When things aren't working out, remind yourself of that same desire to create.
A really, really powerful ending message there, Klub Kofta. Thank you so much for joining me on this interview today. I hope all the best for the future. Remember, guys, if you are interested in this game, Operation Octo, please do check it out. I will leave all the links and everything in the bio down below. Go check it out, add it to your wish list. I guarantee you will absolutely love this game. I have enjoyed so much learning about it and playing this game, and obviously speaking to you, Klub Kofta. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me on the interview. All the best.
I hope you enjoyed learning about them just as much as I did. Please do go give them a follow and a like on everything they do. Wishlist the game and give it a go. Honestly, it's a very, very fun game, and you could honestly lose hours doing it. So I hope you all enjoyed learning a little bit more about them. If you want to see more videos like this, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, see you later.
Where else would you rather be? Tell me who else but me.